you're not allowed to discuss your testimony with any other witness until this case has been ended. You understand that now?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may step down. Thank you very much. May I call your name?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant calls Brooks Brown.
All right.
If I may retrieve it, Your Honor.
Good thing. Come forward, sir. Be sworn here in the Senate.
Go ahead, please, sir. I would ask that you raise your right hand, please. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you will give the court today in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
If you would take the witness stand, please, sir, and state your name for the record and spell your last name for the reporter, please.
Yes, sir.
Brooks Samuel Brown IV, B-R-O-W-N.
Mr. Kern-Fuller, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Brown, could you tell the court where you live, please, sir?
I live here in Anderson, right off the Liberty Highway.
And what district of the county council is that in, sir?
One,
And just for the record, have you ever served in the military, sir?
yes I have. I was in the Navy.
And what was the nature of your discharge?
Honorable under honorable conditions.
Now, Mr. Brown, are you here voluntarily today?
No ma'am, I was subpoenaed.
And would you have come to testify today had you not been subpoenaed?
No ma'am.
Sir, have you ever been a candidate for county council in Anderson County?
Yes.
Can you tell the court about your candidacy for county council, what district and party you ran under?
Republican Party for District 1 on County Council.
And who were your opponents, sir?
McKay and Walter.
So Raymond McKay and Bob Walter?
Right.
Do you recall what year you ran for county council?
2008.
And did you succeed in your effort to win that seat on county council?
No ma'am.
Do you recall if there was a runoff of the candidates?
There was.
And who was the runoff between?
Between Walter and McKay.
And as a candidate who did not proceed to the runoff, did you put your support behind one of those candidates?
I did.
Which candidate did you put your support behind?
Bob Walter.
And after the runoff, who was the successful candidate in that runoff?
Bob Walter.
And as a result of Mr. Waldrop winning that, did you attend any kind of celebratory function or party function where Mr. Waldrop was at it?
Yes ma'am.
Who invited you to that function?
Mr. Walter.
And what was that function?
It was a barbecue.
Were there any other members of county or incoming members of county council at that barbecue?
I believe they were all there.
And was Mr. Allen there?
Yes,
And at that barbecue, did you have a conversation with Mr. Allen?
I did.
Now, I believe Mr. Waldrop testified that that barbecue was somewhere after the runoff on June 24th and somewhere between the July 4th holiday. Is that your recollection of the time frame?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the conversation that you had with Mr. Allen at that barbecue?
We got out of our cars and were walking up to the clubhouse at Cobb's Glen where the function was taking place. And he was just chuckling. I said, "What's funny?" He says, "We got your boy." And I said, "Oh?" He says, "Yeah, we're going to give him an order that he can't follow and then fire him for insubordination."
And the boy he was talking about was Joey Preston?
I assume he didn't say.
Was there any other person who was the county administrator of Anderson County at that point other than Mr. Preston?
No.
Is Mr. Preston your boy?
No.
Do you agree with Mr. Preston, or did you agree with Mr. Preston at that time when he was the county administrator?
Oh, I attacked him on a regular basis.
What about Ron Wilson? Was Ron Wilson your friend?
Oh, no.
Now, what did you do after you had this exchange with Mr. Allen?
Went inside and enjoyed the barbecue.
Did you tell anyone about this exchange you had with Mr. Allen?
After the barbecue, yes.
Who did you tell?
Joey Preston.
And what did Mr. Preston ask you to do as a result of that?
Put it down in writing.
Did you do that?
I did.
Did you provide him a copy of that written statement?
I did.
And after you provided Mr. Preston a copy of that written statement, did you have any other conversations with Mr. Allen
Yes.
about that comment?
Yes.
Tell me about any subsequent conversations you had with Mr. Allen about that comment.
The statement was evidently brought up in the courtroom, and at 8 o'clock the next morning, Mr. Allen called my house and berated me for the better part of 15 minutes, trying to get me to retract the statement.
Mr. Allen called you and tried to get you to change your testimony?
Yes.
And what did you tell him when Mr. Allen called you and tried to get you to change your testimony?
Objection. There's no, that was not, he did not say anything about anybody's testimony being changed. So we've got to clarify, we're not talking about sworn testimony, first of all. Simply some statement that he said was made. Now she's
Said
characterizing
in
his
the
testimony.
courtroom is what I've heard, but I'll ask you to go back and do that.
Yes, I'll got you. Mr. Brown.
Just 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Let's get all electronic devices either off or out of the courtroom. Just 1 second, let's deal with that. There's a standing order by our Supreme Court banning those devices from the courtroom, and I am required to enforce it. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, if you'll hold on that for me. I'm sorry, we were interrupted.
I apologize.
I think what we were talking about was the foundation for whatever comments he made that Mr. Allen apparently found out about and called him about. You'll go deeper into that so I can deal with the objection.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Brown, I believe you testified that you went and you provided a written statement and you gave that to Mr. Preston. Is that
Correct.
correct? And at some point, you discovered that that statement was provided to the county's attorneys?
No.
Okay, tell me what happened after you provided the statement to Mr. Preston's attorney, or Mr. Preston.
Somebody brought it up in one of the hearings,
Okay,
and then Mr. Allen called me the next morning asking, was I aware the statement had been read? And I was not. I knew you had it. Didn't know when it had come up. And then he asked me to retract it. I told him I would not. And then we spent the next 10 minutes or so. And he said, well, Lane, somebody had brought it up. And I said, I don't know a Lane. And he said, well, it's Mr. Preston's attorney. I said, I still haven't met him, never had a conversation with me. And he said, well, he was going to launch an investigation and get to the bottom of this.
so the gentleman sitting here in the beige suit, have you ever met this gentleman before in your life?
No, ma'am.
So you don't know if his name is Lane or not?
No, ma'am.
And you would have no knowledge other than what Mr. Allen had told you that Lane brought up anything in court, would you?
Correct.
And what kind of investigation did Mr. Allen threaten you with?
Objection, Your Honor. She's putting a lot of words into what was said. It was a statement about a threat of an investigation.
Overruled, he said something about an investigation. Those words in his mouth. So you can ask a question, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I understood your testimony, Mr. Brown, you said when Mr. Allen called you and berated you that he said he was going to launch an investigation.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of investigation did Mr. Allen threaten to launch?
He said he wanted to get to the bottom of it.
Was Mr. Allen on county council at that time?
Do not believe so, no.
At the time that he called you to berate you, was he on county council at that time?
No.
And with regard to what you heard in this conversation with Mr. Allen, are you absolutely sure what you heard?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand you're under oath today?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand the enormity of that oath, that you're here to tell the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
That you can be subject to perjury if you don't?
Mhm.
I think that's all that I have, Mr. Brown. I apologize for having to inconvenience you. Please answer any questions that the attorney has.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Mr. Brown. First of all, let me thank you for your service in the Navy. You talked about a statement that you said Mr. Allen made to you at a party in 2008. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that party somewhere around July 4th of 2008?
Around there, yes. I don't know the date.
Have you talked with Ms. Kern-Fuller about your testimony here today at any point in time?
Yes.
Ms. Kern-Fuller is one of Mr. Preston's lawyers. You know that, right?
Yes.
So whether or not you spoke with Mr. Davis, you have spoken with Ms. Kern-Fuller, correct?
Correct.
You said that the statement Mr. Allen made was something about, "We got your boy." That was the first thing you said that he said, right?
Correct.
And you also told us that Mr. Preston was not your boy, right?
Correct.
In fact, Mr. Preston's never been your boy.
No.
You've criticized him routinely, correct?
True.
And you said you assumed Mr. Allen was talking about Mr. Preston when he said, "We got your boy," right?
Correct.
So you don't know who he was talking about, do you?
He did not specify.
And the party we said was around the first part of July 2008, right?
Correct.
That's some 6 months before anyone who's elected in the primaries, who survived the primaries. It's about 6 months before any such person would take office, correct?
True.
So whatever might have been said by Mr. Allen in terms of what he might do, you would agree with me that he's talking about something he might do, if at all, after January 1st, 2009, correct?
That was my assumption, yes.
And wouldn't you agree, there's no way for you or anyone else to know what the new 2009 county council would actually do until they showed up and swore their oaths, right?
Only go by what I've been told.
Have you ever read Mr. Preston's master employment agreement with Anderson County?
No, sir, I have not.
Do you have any idea what within that agreement constitutes grounds for termination with cause?
No, sir.
Do you have any idea what that contract provides with respect to whether or not Mr. Preston, what happens to Mr. Preston if he refuses to perform the duties of his office?
No, sir.
Do you have any idea what, well, let me ask this, I guess. Are you a lawyer?
No.
Would you agree with me that you don't know what would be a lawful versus an unlawful directive of Anderson County Council directed to Mr. Preston?
I have no way of knowing.
And so it's impossible for you to know if Mr. Preston's given a lawful directive that he doesn't obey, would that be a proper grounds for his termination? You would know that.
I would not know.
Your wife used to work for Anderson County, correct?
Correct.
And for a while she worked at the museum,
That's true.
and then at some point she was moved over to train for a position as a 911 dispatcher.
Correct.
Ultimately, would you agree that your wife was let go by Anderson County?
Yes, sir.
And that was sometime after 2008, right?
Correct.
And when Anderson County terminated your wife's employment, that was a blow to your family's income, wasn't
Yes.
it? And you currently are on disability,
Correct.
and have been for some time.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown, when was your wife's employment terminated from Anderson County?
May of 2009.
And so in July of 2008, when you gave this statement to Mr. Preston, was your wife working in Anderson County?
Yes.
And Mr. Tessier asked you whether Mr. Allen had directly referred to Mr. Preston. You contacted Mr. Preston about this comment, is that
Yes, I
correct?
did.
He didn't contact you, did he?
No.
Why did you contact Mr. Preston about that comment?
I don't like to see people getting blindsided. I just thought it was the right thing to do.
And so you took the comment Mr. Allen made to be about Mr. Preston? right?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Yes,
Your Honor,
All right.
We're happy to excuse your witness.
If you could please, Your Honor.
All right. Brown, I'm going to release you from your subpoena at this point in time. I will caution you, all witnesses in this case are under a sequestration order. That order requires that you not discuss your testimony with anyone until such time as this case has been ended. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
The court's going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break. Court will be in recess at this time. Thank you.